Hey guys, it's Zach here. Now some of you may know me from another channel I have that relates to mobile DJing and stuff like that. Now this channel here that I originally started it to do videos on restoration of a vehicle that I used to have, a 1991 Trans Am GTA. Since sold that car, actually bought another car to restore, a 69 Buick Skylark. Decided I really didn't want to have to do much with cars at this point in life, so I ended up selling that car and kind of got into something that I wanted to do when I was a lot younger, ATVs and such. So I've since now bought my 86 200X Honda 3-wheeler, an 86 350X Honda 3-wheeler, and then for my wife we got her this 2002 250EX, and then for my son we have a 85, I believe it is, Kawasaki Mojave 110 4-wheeler. Now, the 3-wheeler stuff, you're going to see some videos of them as I go out and restore them. Actually, I'll show you what they are real quick. They're sitting over here in the garage. The 350 is the one that you can see the ATC on the seat. The 200 has a pretty rough seat and fender. They're both in actually really nice shape to restore. They basically just need plastic and seats and whatnot. Run great. The 200 needs a shock and whatever else, but we'll get into that later. Now this 250 is a great starter machine for my wife. She wanted something that didn't have a hand clutch. She wanted something that was just kind of a sportier machine and whatever else, and she wanted a Honda, so it worked out great that way. The only thing that really kind of sucks about it is that the suspension on the darn thing is very, very stiff. We went trail riding for the first time together this last weekend, and it was absolutely horrible for her. So I did some internet searching, found out what other people are doing, because I didn't want to go out and spend, $1,000 on a new suspension setup for front and rear shocks. And pretty much the rear shock is what we're going to start out with, because that's what gives you a lot more of your ride comfort and everything else. So let me cut away and I'll show you what we ended up getting for the machine. Alright, so what we have here are two different shocks. This one right here, the red one, is the stock shock out of the 250EX. And this shock here, the white one, is actually a front shock for a 2000 Yamaha Banshee. Now, I believe there's a wide range of years that the shocks are pretty much the same for these Banshees. And they had a few at the ATV salvage yard. This one I liked because it had a dual rate spring on it, so not that she's really going to need anything that fancy or anything else, but for the same price as the one that had a single rate spring, I figured why not get the dual rate spring. Now, you'll notice that this shock is a little bit shorter than the 250 shock, about 3/4 of an inch shorter or so. But then another nice thing about the Banshees is that it'll slide right in. You don't have to do any kind of shimming or anything else. It fits into the slots that the factory 250EX shock takes beautifully. Another nice thing is that this 250 shock, none of the shocks on the 250 have any kind of adjustability. This, at least you can adjust the spring preload on it. It isn't a whole lot of adjustability, but it gives you something you can stiffen it up if you need to. Right now it's set at the softest setting right now. Now, tools you're going to need to do this, it's very simple, and a lot of you guys are like, why are you doing a video on this? But, for some of us, maybe we want to see what we're going to get into, and it really is not hard at all. A 14mm wrench, a 14mm deep well socket with extension, and a pry bar. Actually, that's mainly used to get the to help you get the bolts out. So we'll go over to the machine. As you can see, I already have the stock shock out, and we'll show you how to put the new one in. Alright guys, so I know this isn't the best angle, but hopefully it'll make do. This is very simple really. Now, when you're doing this, you want to have a buddy suspend or hold the machine up for you, which is going to get very tiring for him. Or what I did is I just have a sawhorse sitting on the back grab bar holding the machine up. Now the machine is up a little bit higher than normal. So what we're going to do first, slide the replacement shock in. Sorry, we'll do it this way, go down and under and up. And as you can see, it is a nice fit. We'll take our bolt that goes back in here. There's a hole in the swing arm that you actually fish the bolt through and then feed it into the shock. Do the bottom one first, so when we lower the machine down, it's easier for us to get the top one in. Now another way you could do this is use a cherry picker actually to hold the ass end of the machine up, which in a way could be easier because then you have an infinite availability of positions you can hold the machine at. But my cherry picker is kind of buried right now, and figure we'll just do it this way because not everyone has access to such a tool. And there we are, tightened up here. Now we just have to get in, and we'll have to take the camera down and show you where the top mount is. Alright, so that's where the top of our shock is. We actually have to bring this four-wheeler down about, you can see how nice and tight it'll fit in there, about a 3/4 of an inch. Now I have a little sawhorse here holding this machine up on the back end. You can see it here, and then another piece of wood stuffed between it. So I might end up having to get another piece of wood to get it in there good, because if we drop too far down, we probably won't be able to get that bolt in there. So let's see what we can do. Alright guys, you can see we're just about lined up, not quite perfect yet. I got it about as good as I can get this. With a piece of wood, I'm off by maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. So I got my pry bar out. I'm gonna move the shock around, see if there's any way I can push down on it to get it up, or another thing I can do is take that pry bar and try to lift up on the machine ever so slightly, like I just did, and thread the needle. Hopefully thread the needle. There we are. Now we just got to put the nut on the other end, and then we'll show you what the end product's like. Alright, so I haven't tried adjusting it yet. We're just going to see what it does right now as we push down, which it definitely goes down a lot further than it used to. Before you could hardly push on the darn thing. Sit on it. That machine definitely drops a lot more than it used to. Now, this is also set to the softest spring setting. So what we're going to do throughout the next few days is ride it around, figure out where we want that spring set as far as the preload on it, and get it to the right stiffness for her. And I think she'll have a much more comfortable ride as we go on. Now the front shocks on here, the front suspension springs and shocks are still stock, and we're going to start with this, see how she likes it, and then if we need to do something in the front, we will do that at a later date. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully this helped you 250EX guys out that we're kind of searching for a cheap alternative to buying a Works package or something aftermarket that was very expensive. A front shock is an inexpensive alternative. I've also heard that the 300EX rear shock will work. I'm not sure how much softer it'll ride, because I'm assuming that this machine is a little bit lighter, so who knows, maybe it'll, but you probably have a little bit of adjustability on the 300EX shock as well. But remember, when you're doing the front shock into the back, these front shocks are designed to have two, on each side, so they're not going to hold as much weight necessarily. So I definitely wouldn't be doing this on a machine that you're going to be wanting to jump and get a lot of air with. She's mainly just going to trail ride it, so it should be fine for her. And like I said, she's much lighter weight than I am, so it'd be fine. But for you guys that are looking for your teenage kids or for your wives, this could be a good alternative for you as well. I'll show you in another video what the end result is by riding around. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later.